percolates over into our customers, and then they won't come back.
So when you have a program that requires you to cull hard, cull deep every year, I mean, that could be a financial hit. How are you getting salvage value out of your, say, grade B, grade C bulls that aren't making your cut, your benchmark, but there's still a market for them. There's still value beyond salvage.
So what we've done is we've taken a risk and we've started a beef program. And so we're taking that stuff.
Processed beef?
Yeah. So we got a beef program that we're running right now that we provide for some restaurants and people. And what we've done is taken those out of the herd completely and out of the Angus genetics completely, and put them in a feedlot because they still produce good red meat, and we process them and we run them through. So we're taking a hit in our genetic part, but we're not taking a financial hit because it's rolling back around. So instead of being at the mercy of a sale barn in a market like we discussed earlier, we're actually, that meat's still worth, right now I think a ribeye is a good choice ribeye is probably $18 a pound. And hamburger we're selling for around between $5 and $6. So we have markets for it, and it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of stress, and it's a lot of financial burden, but at the end of the day it will pay off.
Now, as part of your enterprise there to get the data off of these bulls that you're feeding?
100%. So that's another thing is that ranchers they throw them in a truck, the truck takes them to the feed yard, those guys feed them out, and they don't give you your information back. So you don't know how your cattle are grading. So when they go to the grid system and they grade them, those guys are getting premiums on that beef. And if you know that, you can ask for more on your price. But they won't give you that information is because they don't want you to know that.
Data and information is king.
Yeah, 100%.
It's the new gold.
And then at the end of the day too is that we can take and finish these calves in our meat program, and we got the data ourselves, and so we know when it goes to our customers, we can say, hey, 95% of this is going to go choice or prime. And so start asking your guys for feed data, and don't sell your calves unless you get feed data.
How long have you been at this?
So I bought my first cow in 2011.
Were you playing for the Detroit Lions when you did?
Well, no, I just.
Were you sending checks back home to Dad saying,
I wish,
saying invest this for me in cows?
So my dad was in the implement business, and so I've never been around cattle, but I always tell people this, that it's no different than a football team. If you don't perform, you go down the road. And so that's how we approach this, and the genetics. So if you look at a pedigree, you've got all sorts of things that you can look at to decide what your cows, or what that bull, that sire is going to bring to your herd. And so we're fixing a couple little things. Feet and udders are always a big issue. These cows are really well uddered, well footed cows, but we want to put a little more base into them and widen them out because it equals pounds, and that's going to correlate over into our customers.
Now, remind me again, you're producing for the commercial cattlemen. So your buyers are guys in, say, eastern Montana who are running 40 acres per animal unit. You have to have some durable animals, maybe have to walk 2 miles to water. I mean, that's pretty tough to breed for. That's a tough, hardy animal.
So if you just pan out through these cows and pan out through them and you look at them all, and you can see their back level is the same. This is what we're creating. We're creating a 5.5 to a 5 frame cow that's well built and through the bone and feet and the udder complexion. Like you pull this cow right here. She's a first calf heifer out of a Keystone bull, and she's just got a really nice tight udder. And so, and you go through all of these, and you can find some variance in teats, but bags, as far as bag structure, is going to be hard to pick out.
I mean, we're in a pretty beautiful area outside of Helena. You see a lot of guys, hobby ranchers per se, maybe recreation, newcomers, transplants, whatever we want to call them. They want to get into the registered business. They want the blackest of black cows. What do you think about that? Are they going about it the right way, or?
I as long as someone wants to be in the industry, I'm fine with it. You know what I mean? Because this is the best thing about America. It's called capitalism and competition. And so if you're worried about what somebody else is doing, you're not doing what you should be doing. And so I'm going to do what I do and make changes to please my customers and to do what they want. And that's all I'm going to worry about. Like, everybody wants to look, and I think it's what's wrong in this country, is everybody wants to look over the fence. And you know what? If you just turn around and look yourself and figure out what you're doing wrong, I think you're going to be better off.
That's right.
I was born in 1980 and growing up through the 80s, and there was a recession in the early 80s, and you had interest rates at 12 to 16%, 18%. And people really had to financially plan. You couldn't just go out and get a bank loan and all that stuff. And so what I've always done is worry about what I can control. I can't control the weather, so I don't worry about the weather. Yeah, it stresses me out, but I don't worry about it. But do what I'm supposed to do, have my fields ready, have my irrigation going, and then if I have to irrigate 3 times a day, that's what you do. You got to do what you can to make things work. And this snow, and this has probably been our best spring snowstorm. I mean, we're getting nickel-sized snowflakes, and we're supposed to get followed up with some temperature next week, and so it's going to pop our grass and give us a chance. Hold on.
They'll fill out there.
And another thing is I usually don't feed on our pivot, but this was ingrained last year, and I've been feeding on it hard because we're going to have to make some cuts in fertilizer. So we're using the manure process to supplement our shortage in fertilizer. And so all of our hay fields, we've been feeding in lines and dumping manure in our best spots, and in hopes that we get production out of it, because we just can't. We're going to go from a $18,000 fertilizer to a $36,000 to $40,000 fertilizer bill. We just can't afford to do it. I mean, with fuel being up, each one of these fields takes about $2,500 worth of fuel in order to plant. Your inputs to get that $15 an hour is now probably equivalent to $4 an hour. Man, this is a blessing, get a good snowstorm like this.
Nice snowstorm on April 16th.
And our grass is starting to come, and with the hay shortages and all that stuff, and we helped out a lot of guys this year. Sold $140 a ton of hay instead of the $350, because I got buddies that come help me, and they got families to feed, and it wasn't about making a bunch of money off of them. It's about keeping them in the business in hopes that someday they'll come buy our offspring.
So this hay we're driving by right now, what is that worth per bale?
That probably 300 to 250.
What was it worth 3 years ago per bale?
About 80 to 100. And so I guess it's just inflation.
Yeah. So you got your $15 minimum wage, but everything you're buying went up 40%. How's that working out?
Well, I just would like to, yeah, right? And I just like for a rancher to be able to get a $15 wage. And when you sit down and figure out what we do, and I don't want people to feel sorry for us, because I love this, is that we're probably making in the pennies on the dollar for minimum wage. So we're probably making 20 cents an hour, and then some ranchers are paying to play. And so a lot of people got to understand that this isn't as profitable as you think. The only thing we're doing is building equity for the end game. And so when you sell out, yeah, there's profitability in there, but the government's going to have their hand out, the state's going to have their hand out, and then you probably have siblings, parents that you have to pay out. And so you might sell a place for $15 million, but when the dust settles, you maybe take $1 to $2 million home.
Which is what your average W-2 earner in America is going to end up with at retirement in your 401k.
Yeah, it's not as profitable as you want, and it's a good thing in America we have people that love this industry because it's feeding our country. And so, but it's gonna get kind of tight here this fall, in January, February of 2023.